Hi, my name is Max Hansen. I'm one of the managing directors at Accruit. I've been involved in the exchange industry for the last 30 plus years. One of the things that comes up in discussions with people is how can I use a property for my own personal use if I've exchanged into that property? You have to think in terms of the definition of what is like-kind property under Section 1031 of the Internal Revenue Code. Like-kind property is defined as any property that the taxpayer acquires with the intention of holding it for investment purposes or productive use in a trade or business. That means essentially that they can acquire any kind of real property interest as long as it's not going to be used the first couple of years for their own personal use, or property that they're not buying with the intention of just flipping it. So let's focus on personal use. Taxpayer, what their bona fide intent in acquiring the property is one of the important factors. Sometimes people have the intent to use the property for a business use, but then things change in their life, the economic situation, which could require that they end up putting that property to different use, including using it for residential purposes, their own residential purposes. The conventional wisdom is that if a person holds a property for 2 years and then converts it to personal use from a business use, that's going to be in compliance with the code, and there shouldn't be a problem with that. There are some people that would maintain that even if they hold the property and don't convert it to personal use for a couple of tax reporting periods, which could be less than 2 calendar years, that's going to qualify the property as having been held a sufficient time before conversion to personal use. There is another rule that would allow taxpayers to utilize property that's held for business purposes, that is like a vacation rental property, and as long as they don't use it for their own personal use more than 14 days a year. And that is a recognition of the fact that many times they'll have to check the property, they'll be doing deferred maintenance, but at the same time they're using it for their own personal use. That's not a problem. The other factor to consider is what's called Revenue Procedure 2008-16, which essentially says that a taxpayer can use a property for personal use up to 10% of the time that they otherwise have it rented out in any given calendar year. So that gives the taxpayer some latitude. You can see that if they have it rented out roughly 11 months out of the year, that they could use it almost a month or a little bit over a month and still be within the rules as far as personal use is involved. One of the other things that people do is they will have the ability to rent the property to a related party or related entity. As long as there's a written rental agreement, as long as there's fair market rent being paid by that related party or related entity, that will also allow for personal use by a related party. If you have any other questions, you can be sure to give us a call, and also talk to your CPA about what they believe qualifies as business use versus personal use. Thanks very much.